What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to be talking about the XRP price chart. It's actually been a while since we've had an XRP dedicated video. Really, it's been about 2 months. But obviously, with all the action we saw throughout the week, we got price action over here on the XRP price chart. We got action over there in Bitcoin. And it seems like we're at a pretty critical price level and price time within the chart for the future to get decided here for XRP. Now, if you caught my last video, we spent a lot of time talking about Bitcoin, that if there's like a saving grace for it here, and we just ignore everything macro-wise for this moment in time, and maybe things turn around in the stock market at some point, and breadth opens up in there, that looking at Bitcoin, if some kind of surprise shows up and breadth takes control of all markets, that has been the thing that has led to expansion. And right now, with how much time we've been in here, I'm not going to go through all this stuff again, but if you caught the last video discussing that, hey, you 4-year cycle people, you're really not out of time, and really it hadn't expanded yet by this time either when we followed along with something similar like this. So there's still that saving grace out there for Bitcoin. But one thing I've been very vocal of for a very long time is that XRP is tied to the rest of the market. There's all the flip, the switch, all the money. The world's going to run on XRP stuff. I was pretty critical of that because we've done a lot of research on this market, and XRP has never had an independent bull run based on any type of narrative or any type of isolated event. However, it has definitely gone on bull runs when there's expansion happening throughout markets. But the thing we talked about in the last video about like signs that if Bitcoin's going to end up being okay, what were some kind of like those early signs that showed up in the market outside of just really looking at Bitcoin? Because you're not getting the same structure for Bitcoin up in here like you did in the past, right? But there were some events that showed up in the market that kind of gave a clue that Bitcoin was going to go into expansion. And one of those things during this time period was that some altcoins started to catch a bid. One of them being XRP. Like in the last video, talked about Litecoin was one of those as well. That these started to really kind of take off before Bitcoin actually got itself all the way back up and back into any actual expansion. The early signals there came from a couple of altcoins, and then, you saw the rest of them get going. Well, as we can see clearly in the price action that just happened over here in Bitcoin in the crypto market over the 4th of July holiday, XRP's price has taken another shift down to the downside. But the question is it all over? Is the gig up? Are we done? And I really think a lot of it is going to depend on if we're going to see a recovery over here in crypto and if expansion is going to happen through the market. We know that this type of price behavior can happen in these time periods up in here. We've seen these support areas hold, and then there's one final push to the downside that can happen up in here, just losing all hope, being at these highs for this long. And then what again? That's really very similar to what we have happening right now after really kind of holding for a while and holding, and then there's that final push. And then the great expansion comes beyond that. When we also look at this from the perspective of time and how much time we've spent in here since the peak came in, we can see really that's kind of about how much time it took for something like that to end up playing out. When we start ourselves right here from the Pico top, here we go, there you go, where things kind of hold themselves for a while in here, and then, oh no, it's not going to come back. And really, all of that is quite similar. And of course, it's one thing to take things and just say, hey, they look similar for the sake of they look similar. But we have to also use it in like a similar context, right? Were we up here spending months trying to get through the all-time high for Bitcoin? Yes, we were. Was this happening regardless of Bitcoin even trying to do this? Yes. But it did require the signal that this market was all expanding. XRP was not isolated in here. You saw it was Litecoin, Dash, Monero, Ethereum, everything's going in this moment. Just like XRP topping over here with Bitcoin back in 2013, just like XRP taking off topping with Bitcoin over here, and just like XRP going off and topping with Bitcoin over here. It still required that the market was going to go into expansion. So kind of like Bitcoin, it's there. It's kind of like at the make or break moment. If the magical unicorn fairy dust or the puppet master's pulling the puppet strings, God or a simulation is ready to play the game and make things happen when they're supposed to happen. We're kind of reaching that point, right? And of course, it's like the emotional breaking point at this point because we've been in here so long, especially for people who went through the whole last one of 2018, that if you're going to get it, kind of seems like this is really kind of the moment where the market has to kind of decide on itself if this is going to end up being it. we're at an appropriate time, just as Bitcoin is. We've waited long enough. Price obviously got carried away in that moment that happened as the market liquidated, which is kind of a newer phenomenon that we've had in this market the last 4 to 5 years, is the sheer amount of margin and gambling that goes on here compared to what we used to have. But for the most part, prices still withstood themselves okay. But if you're going to sit there and think 4-year cycles on Bitcoin, if you're going to think 4-year cycles over here on XRP, well, you just reached that moment. And I know for a lot of people, they're like super emotionally invested in the narrative of XRP, but I try to just kind of bring that realistic approach to it, that this is going to depend on there being expansion happening in the market for price to get moving. But in respects to the longest time period it has ever taken for price to get moving, you're looking at it right here. It was 2013 through 2017. And if you're looking at 2018 through 2021, we're really kind of right there too. So we're getting right into that window of being like, look, if this thing's going to happen, if there's going to be some repeating cycles that are happening within here, time is really ticking. We're there. And the same goes for Bitcoin, because like I showed last week, if you were looking at this through the lens of how long it took from 2018 through 2021, we bypassed that breakout right there on April 12th when it broke down. The equivalent for the 2018 through 2021 was the breakout into the high and the expansion starting right there on April 12th, which it did not. Right. So here we are 3 months later, but you haven't lost yourself in regards to time when it came to 2013 through 2017. And well, if you kind of look back on what it was like back in 2021, we really spoke a lot about it through the viewpoint that Bitcoin had just completed another super cycle, right? And that everything that happened from 2018 through 2020 was really just the consolidation that happened in here, and then the final ending. And then what do? We go through this style correction to reset itself after an entire super cycle had completed, right? So this is the start of a whole new super cycle beginning in here. But what kind of correction do you get after that? You get that, which of course was what we've been talking about throughout all of here. So even looking at it on like the bigger, longer term time frames, right, the more appropriate style to even be looking at wouldn't actually be 2018 through 2021. It would actually be 2013 through 2017. So we're really there. It's all dependent on expansion happening in the market. Keep your eyes on Bitcoin, and hopefully XRP can give some type of an early signal to come out in here. But really, we're just kind of looking for it on anything. And I'm not talking stuff that's like rank 250 or what new meme coins come out and stuff like that, but like major names out there, stuff that's in the top 50. If we can get a couple of them given an early signal, or even if it's XRP, that's really the phase that we're at right now. That make or break for the whole market, make or break for the stock market. We need some type of signal to emerge for expansion to happen in here. This was kind of how it all came to a conclusion back there in 2016 and 2017. But it's definitely dependent on the whole thing going. So it's a fingernail biting moment for the market entirely. But if you're going to say, is there a place and a time for something like that to show up? Well, it's in here. Just so happens to be where we're at. And hopefully this is just a washout, the last trap being laid, and a big surprise around the corner. And as for me, having to take a stab at it and adding some. So I did add some more. Because if that's true, if that ends up being the case, it's kind of like this is it, right? So we'll keep an eye on it. And otherwise, we'll wrap this one up. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you'd like, check out the newsletter over here on blockchainbacker.substack.com. So we do a lot of research and put it out there. I think there's around 40 newsletters released by now. All of them include audio recordings in there. The most recent one was 28 minutes. Of course, you can check out bcbacker.com for over 40 videos and 11 hours of content teaching you how to set up your own charts and indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro, and teaching you about the historical behavior of the cryptocurrency market. There are links in the description of this video to both bcbacker.com and to blockchainbacker.substack.com. Otherwise, I want to thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.